Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. I want to introduce you to our Sociology and Scripture series. It's a playlist I'm developing because I believe truth is truth. I think there's truth in the social sciences. The ultimate truth is in the Scriptures. And I want to try to find a way we can use the social sciences, social theory, to learn more deeply about the Scripture. I know I'm not a theologian, so there's certain types of depths I can't get to because I've not studied that. But I still believe that we could apply what we know in the social sciences in ways to give us additional insight into the Scripture. I'm in a unique position to do this, being a Christian who's serious about his faith, being a scholar who's serious about his scholarship. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope that this series can be insightful to you and help you in your faith. Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's share some paradigms. And the paradigm I'll share today concerns the woman at the well. Yes, I want to look at John 4:4-26. This is part of my series of social sciences and scripture, and I think that this is a great story in the Bible to really look at what our social sciences can tell us. Now, I'm assuming most of you are familiar with the woman at the well. So I don't want to go read all those verses because obviously they take a lot of time and you can read it yourself. But I do want to look at certain verses that are very important. For example, I'm going to look at the verse John 4:4. Now he had to go through Samaria. You're thinking, so what? He had to go through Samaria. Well, the tradition of that time, and I know I'm not a theologian, don't even play one on TV, but the tradition of that time was Jews avoided Samaria. Why did they? They didn't like the Samaritans. There's a history there. Samaritans were thought as sort of like a half-breed. They were labeled idolaters. They were promoters of an impure image of God. The Jews did not like the Samaritans. They had these images of them, and they were wanting to avoid the neighborhood. You know, you may live in a city where there's a neighborhood that you don't like, and you avoid it. You may think it's dangerous, it's violent, and the crime rate may be higher. So you go out of your way to avoid it. That's what the Jews did. Jesus had to go through Samaria because Jesus was not labeling the Samaritans in this way. He goes to the Samaritan woman. And you know the story as well as I do. He asked for water. And she's surprised because first, he's Jewish, he's a male, and he's asking her for water. The Samaritans were not used to Jews treating them with any sort of respect. And especially a woman in that day, with the sexism that's around, this man asking her, almost like, you know, you treat me like garbage and now you want water. And she knows he doesn't have a bucket, which is going to become important when he starts talking about the living water they can draw from. Jesus starts ministering to her, and he calls her out because of what it says here. Verse 16. He told her, "Go call your husband and come back." "I have no husband," she replies. Jesus said to her, "You are right when you said you have no husband. The fact is you've had 5 husbands. The man you are now have is not your husband. What you have said is quite true." Yeah, I want to look at this because Jesus does not simply say, you know, I accept you no matter what. I mean, he does, but he wants her to change. Her life has not been a godly life up to this point in time. Jesus recognizes that. He's not sugarcoating that. He says, you've had 4 husbands, and the guy you're with is not your husband. You know, you almost hear, what's up with that? And all of a sudden, she's like, oh no, I'm undone. He continues to minister to this woman. Now, the custom is that Jesus should have avoided her. She has 4 husbands. 5th guy's not her husband. She's a Samaritan. She's a woman. He shouldn't have avoided her. He doesn't. He engages with her. Now, why is all this important? And what does my social training tell me at this point? Well, let me go into that. But before I do, let me say that I hope you're enjoying this. And if you are, please consider subscribing to this channel. If you like what I'm offering, please give me a like or a comment. If you like it, if you disagree, comment as well. Hope you consider this. And, you know, I really find this series of applying social sciences to Scripture fascinating. I hope you do too. Okay, there's a theory that's showing why she's so surprised and why what he's doing is so unusual. It's called labeling theory. Labeling theory works something like this. When people we see as deviant, and remember, a Samaritan woman, 4 husbands, living with a 5th guy. She's a deviant. Persecutors as deviant are labeled. They act out that deviance. For example, you keep telling a kid he or she is stupid. Pretty soon, they're going to act like they're stupid because they're acting out their label. It's a way we try to explain why people act out in certain ways. And by we, society, the Jews to the Samaritans, label people a certain way, then they act it out. Now, we're not given a lot of the background of the woman. Maybe part of the reason why she went from man to man was she was rejected as a Samaritan woman, as someone's pretty poor because she's drawing water. She doesn't have a servant doing that. And as a woman. And maybe she feels like, well, I'm a bad person. I'm going to label a bad person. I might as well live it out. And this gives her the sort of unction to go back at Jesus about what we worship. And until Jesus basically reads her ledger, tells her what's up is up, she wants to act out this bad role. This is why Jesus' ministry is so incredibly valuable. He sees her. He's correcting her, okay? He doesn't see her and say, you can do whatever you want. He's correcting her, but he sees her. And he sees through the label. What does this tell us as Christians? How many times we label people? People we don't even know that well, but we know something about them. Their ethnicity, their class, you know, their gender, their lifestyle. And we label them. And we treat them like that label, and then they become locked in that label. Whereas if we minister to them, if we saw them, you know what happens at the end of the story, don't you? She goes and she tells everyone about Jesus. She goes to say, this guy knows everything about me. Come and see. The village is basically saved because Jesus ministers to this woman who's been labeled as deviant. Labeling theory says that we do this to people and we lock them in to a place. Jesus says you minister to people and they can be free. Labeling theory tells us what's wrong. Jesus shows us what's right. I believe truth is truth. I think labeling theory has legitimacy. I think is why some people do what they do. We have to be careful about labeling people. Jesus shows us the way out. Once she is free, the good news, she's able to break her label, to break her bondage. Jesus remakes her. Can we as Christians look through the labels? And I'm talking to myself as well. I too often label people a certain way, and I'm not willing to let them go. I engage in stereotyping of individuals, and I want them to live out that stereotype. I do this as well. I'm talking to myself as well. But if we as Christians can break through the labels and to minister to people what they are, to see the soul behind a woman with 4 husbands, the Samaritan woman that the Jews did not like. They avoided them. They thought that that these were evil people. These were heathens. Who in your life do you see as a heathen that you label you want nothing to do with? Who is your Samaritan in your life? Because we all have them. It could be the guy wearing the MAGA hat. It could be the person who's a transgender. Who is your Samaritan? Who have you labeled? Who would you minister to? Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you see how social sciences can bring a new angle, a new light to a story we know very well. Thanks for coming by. And please come back. We can shatter some more paradigms.